Okay, Dad. So thanks for hanging on to my notes here from the FBI Watch last report. This is the January 18th notes I took in the courtroom down at the U.S. District Court. And so here you are in your new home. You just moved in a couple of days, and I'm going to give you a quick briefing on some of the original arguments. We have an issue with the FBI in Portland, Oregon. They are targeting Islamic teenagers for quick industrialized entrapment plots. And the FBI has gone to some trouble to say how not to get caught when you entrap and how to put the evidence in place that will protect the FBI from getting caught. But in following the Stephen Sadie, he opened up yesterday that we do not want this publication of this fictitious e-evidence more than once. The defendant is entitled to give a context and suggest that and summarize the statements involved. Sadie said, we will highlight non-duplicative statements needed for context at this break, the fit rule of completeness and the contemporaneous something best second not. Government said, Youssef will finish, then they're going to recall Hussein. So Youssef and Hussein, to get you clear on this, Youssef and Hussein are pegged as the FBI fake identities, like the cover identities of the secret agents who stalked the Somali immigrant teenager. So then they searched the apartment which FBI got for Mohammed, where they basically planted him with a bunch of evidence. So Lisa Hay is the attorney for the defense, and she's really incredible, Dad. She's got this very calm relay of information that is just really drives home the points, and she's very quick, very intelligent. So they deal with the fact that Mohammed didn't even have a driving license. All he had was a learner's permit. And she's asking the FBI agents if they're aware that they're preying on someone and trying to get someone to rent an apartment, to rent a storage unit, and possibly to drive automobiles without even a driver's license. And at which point, I mean, we could maybe have an FBI entrapment law that requires the teenagers that you prey on to at least have a driver's license before you try to trick them into some little bomb plot. So without a valid license, he can't rent a car. And so then we're going over some issues with Hussein. Now it seems that I have about 40, almost close to 40 pages of notes here. It goes up to page 36. So to highlight some of the larger issues with FBI Watch, the FBI is financing jihadist movies. And Lisa was very critical in pointing out the fact that the U.S. government did in fact support Afghani jihadis against the Soviet Union. And if you put this back in a Cold War Soviet Union context, we have the fact that our government has been doing a little flip-flopping, flipping sides. So in terms of our material support for the jihadist culture, then the FBI is coming up to people 20, 30 years later saying, oh, hey, do you want to get involved with this jihadist culture? Then it's boom, it's a crime. So it's kind of like we need a little more consistency in terms of what we're doing. So FBI is paying for this FBI jihadist movie where they have all these FBI guys crawling around on the ground with rifles, and it's absolutely ridiculous. It looks phony and fake. The music's phony and fake. But nevertheless, this young teenager is kind of clueless, and he's got a multicultural background because he came to the U.S. when he was 3 in 1991 when the Somali government was in a totally different situation where U.S. helicopters were being shot out of the sky. His parents lived through war. They're war-torn. So a very important point is that we've got unpaid wages. Essentially, Mohamed Mohamud is becoming conscripted labor for a publicity stunt put on by the FBI for the FBI's larger agenda to bring down global terror, which I support the end of violence and terror, but doing it through violent means I beg to differ with. So they're sexually harassing him. They're calling him Habibi, which means my love in Arabic. And they're saying, oh, you have to do this. And they're essentially inducing slavery via trickery. And nobody cares because he's from Africa. And we have a history of colonialism and slavery and enslaving the people of Africa. And I really care. And I resent this very much as a daughter and granddaughter and great-granddaughter of immigrants, that they would come up to a very highly vulnerable young man and trick him through cultural manipulations. But when I ran into my friend Dad at the Office Depot where I was getting my notes strung up onto the internet, I explained the situation, and he said, oh, yeah, super entrapment. And I'm like, thank you, that's the hashtag. And so we got super entrapment of the ultra vulnerable. Dad, you are ultra vulnerable. Here you are in this incredible hospital bed here at the new home in the retirement center, but you're ultra vulnerable. I'm not going to prey on you because I respect my elders, and I respect the youth too. We need a culture of respectfulness. Don't you agree? That's how you guys raised me. So this phony, fictitious stuff, man, Dad, I got in the elevator with these FBI guys. I got on the elevator with the FBI guys, and I told them about ransoming. Ransoming wouldn't stand for this nonsense either. And that old Tricky Dicky Helms, he could possibly get a piece of our minds. Wow. So we need compassionate reform, education for the FBI training, better screening, oversight. We need gender equality. If we had more women involved in the operations of the FBI, we'd have a more complicated and sensitive approach. And I do not mean that to be sexist, but this renegade boys club culture at the FBI needs to be evaluated from a gender equity perspective. We need better screening, we need oversight, and we need medical supervision. If somebody has a medical issue, we can't prey on them, can we, Dad? We can't prey on them if they have a medical issue. So when we have medical experts, we need to supervise with the FBI entrapment plots of the future and do a case study of evaluation of the FBI entrapment plots of the past. Because if sexual harassment of a teenage boy or intimidation or violent threats create irreversible psychological damage, the FBI will be sued for inducing the PTSD in whole families and communities and mosques that they are infiltrating, promoting this violent ideology. It is not medically advisable to predate on teenage fantasists with religious and academic goals and trick them into suicide bombing. So it's extremely traumatizing, the betrayal of people who bribe and seduce him and call him Habibi, which is just so extraordinarily condescending, deceitful, and sexual, threatening violent bombs and total isolation of him. FBI is acting like a new religious movement, a cult, secreting him away for total isolation, total mind control, Manchurian candidate experimentation. FBI is repeating the same mistakes of the CIA in the 1960s, but without the LSD and other drugs. We need better awareness of MKUltra, and it will help us realize that mind control child soldier training is contrary to our global AFRICOM goals. And that's where the local Joe Blow FBI guys are really out of touch with the larger international picture, and they need some leadership and oversight. So, Dad, on the plus side, I've been investigating the Department of Justice website, and it seems we can apply a Department of Justice investigative approach to getting some oversight and getting some protection for whistleblowers, and we need to do a little FBI infiltration and outreach to get some of the people inside the FBI to come out of the closet, whistleblow, and get some more dignity, honor, and integrity in the FBI. Aren't you happy about that, Papa? Isn't that great?